So today we're going to be talking about protecting your password. And we are going to be going through and talking about a number of things that have to do with protecting your password, like how to create a good password, storing your password, and keeping your passwords somewhere other than on your computer so that you can get access to them later. Without further ado, great passwords. There are 4 attributes to creating a great password. The first thing is it must be longer than 8 characters. It must also contain 3 of the following 4 items: numbers, uppercase letters, lowercase letters, or punctuation. Finally, it must be hard to guess. And what I mean by this is if the password is your birthday written down twice in a row, that's something I'm going to be able to guess. Lastly, it has to be difficult to read. And more importantly than difficult to read, if I read it, it has to be hard for me to remember it later on. Okay? So let's just kind of take a look at a couple of those and what they look like. Passwords. ABC123 exclamation point. This is a bad password because I can look at it and I'm going to remember it. It's also easy to guess. Following are some good passwords. 5FJJ9 @ exclamation point exclamation point. Can you imagine seeing that on a little piece of paper or watching somebody type it and trying to remember what they typed? Pretty hard, right? That's what we're trying to achieve here. So how do we create a good password? Because if you looked at that list of passwords that were good passwords, they're also hard for you to remember. So the best way to do this is to create a system. And one of the best systems out there for creating a good password is to come up with one that come up with a sentence that you're going to remember. In this case, Bruce is the best computer guy ever, and remember it. Then take the first letter of each of the words and the punctuation and make that into a word. In this case, capital B as in Bruce, I as in is, T as in the, B as in best, C as in computer, G as in guy ever. So as you can see, we've created a password that's pretty random. Yet I'm going to be able to remember it. And after I've typed it a few times, I'll be able to just type it out without really thinking about the sentence, Bruce is the best computer guy ever. You've created a great password, and you now have a situation where you have a bank account number, and it requires 25 characters. And you have your Facebook account that requires 14 characters, and you have your log to Windows that requires 4 characters. How do you deal with this? You don't want to have the same password across the board, especially for Facebook or your social networking program, because that's exactly how a hacker is going to get into your bank account, because they get into your Facebook account by sending you a fancy little video about the most disgusting thing you've ever seen in your life. You click on it. They now have your Facebook password, and then they can use that to access your banking account or your computer system. So you really have to have a number of different passwords out there. And before we get into actually storing it, let's just talk for a minute about what not to do with a password, and that is to send it via email to somebody. In fact, you should never send anything that you think is confidential over email. The reason is sending an email is the same as sending somebody a postcard. What I mean by that is as the message goes from person to person to person to get to you, as it goes through the mail servers on the internet, anybody that it touches can read it or make a photocopy of it. So it's really, really important that you never send anything confidential over email. That includes passwords, social security numbers, banking account numbers, credit card numbers. None of those should be sent over email without some sort of encryption, and we're going to talk about encryption in a minute. Next, never, ever store passwords in Excel. Microsoft Excel has the ability to lock the file with a password, and so a lot of people, especially the folks in the accounting groups, think that this makes it so the password is secure. And in fact, you can buy a tool for $100 that will unlock an Excel password. So if you can buy one for $100, that means if you have a file called passwords.xls and I stole your computer or I got my hands on that some way, I could purchase that program and open that file right up and see all of your passwords. Never store your password in a file called passwords. Okay? It's a dead giveaway. That tells me exactly where what I'm looking for is. Finally, don't write your passwords down. Okay? And what I mean by that is we're going to go through a whole system to ensure your passwords stay your passwords and that stay secure. And if you can circumvent that system by also keeping them on a little sticky on keyboard next to your desk. When you get it installed, you'll have a little shortcut like this on your desktop. I'm going to open it up, and it isn't so exciting when you first open it. Like there's going to be a little new button and a little folder button that says open. Well, since you don't have a spot to store your passwords yet, we're going to start with a new button. And it's going to ask you for a master password, okay? This is going to be the password that you need to unlock your file that contains all of your passwords. I suggest that you make it difficult. I would use that whole system that we talked about for creating a password from a sentence that you know. And you may even want to type out a couple of words when you do it. There's a little button over here that says hide passwords behind asterisks. We're going to be using buttons like this all day today so you can see what I'm typing, okay? So this allows you to actually see what I'm typing. So Bruce is the best computer guy ever. Notice that there's that little stream at the bottom that's getting greener and greener as I key, okay, as I type in this master password. So I'm now going to say OK, and I'm green. I'm moderately green. We can be a little bit greener if we added a whole bunch of craziness to it, okay? But I'm pretty happy with a 50-bit encryption algorithm, which is this BIT, BC, GE, exclamation, exclamation, exclamation. The more green, the harder it is to crack. So it's asking us to confirm that. I just hit OK. I'm just going to try that again. So Bruce is the best computer guy ever. I forgot that I would be saying this over and over today, so it's kind of funny. All right, so as soon as you type that in, you will get a little tree over on the left-hand side, and then you'll get a blank list area over on the right-hand side. And what this list area is this is the spot where all of your passwords will be. And this over here on the left, this is where all of them will be stored. They're basically little folders so that you can keep track of your different passwords. Now, the very first thing I would suggest that you do is you take this and you right-click on a couple of them and delete them. So I'm just going to right-click and I'm going to delete the group. I don't really need one called home banking, and I don't need one called email. I don't need one called internet. So basically, I'm just customizing this so it makes sense to me. I do need a group called social media. And I'm going to choose an icon that makes sense to me for the social media group. After you've done this and you've created a group for social media, you can hit the little add entry. We'll create an entry under social media. We're just going to call this. And the username, my name for Facebook is Jeff McCulley. And we can put in our password. Now, here's the thing. For Facebook, I don't really care how secure my password is. So I'm going to use kind of an insecure password. Okay? Now, it's already generated me a nice secure password that it'd like me to use. I'm not going to use that. So instead, I'm going to use Bruce is cool, exclamation point. Now you all know my Facebook password. I'm going to retype it. Rather than copying and pasting it, I'm just retyping it so that we can verify that it's actually what I expect it to be. And then I can say OK. And now what I've done is I've created a Facebook entry with the username BF McCulley and the password Bruce is cool. Now I'm going to open this back up, and you can actually open it back up a couple of ways. You can right-click and do Edit and View Entry, which pops it back open, or you can right-click and choose different options like copy the password, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm going to put in here my Facebook URL. Okay. So now I have everything I need in order to go access my Facebook account with this password. So here's my Facebook account. I can just double-click. It's going to go ahead and open Facebook for me. I have a spot for my username. I can type that in here. And then I can go to that password, and I can put that in here too. Now, rather than showing it and typing it, I can just do copy password. Come back to my web browser, right-click, and paste that right here. And then if I hit login, it'll log me in